Order. The sitting is resumed. Business questions. Shadow Leader of the House, Thangam Debinet.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. To ask the Leader of the House if she will give us the forthcoming business.
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The business for the week commencing the 31st of October will include Monday the 31st of October, remaining stages of the Genetic Technology Precision Breeding Bill, followed by consideration of Lord's amendments to the Product Security and Telecommunications Infrastructure Bill, followed by a motion to approve a money resolution relating to the Protection from Redundancy, Pregnancy and Family Leave Bill. Tuesday, the 1st of November, second reading of the UK Infrastructure Bank Bill, Lords. Wednesday, the 2nd of November, Opposition Day debate, sixth allotted day, debate on a motion in the name of the Scottish National Party, subject to be announced. Thursday, the 3rd of November, debate on a motion on the independent review of smoke-free 2030 policies, followed by general debate on the government's white paper, A Fairer Private Rented Sector. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 4th of November, the House will not be sitting. The provisional business for the week commencing the 7th of November includes second reading of the Social Housing Regulation Bill, Lords.
Shadow Leader of the House, Thangam Debinet.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Leader of the House for the forthcoming business. And can I start by congratulating the Right Honourable Lady for being reappointed as Leader of the House. There were suggestions it might not have been the job she was hoping for, but as Parliament's representative in government and government's representative in Parliament, we both know that she has an incredibly important role. I know she takes her responsibility seriously, and I look forward to continuing to work with her to ensure members are properly able to hold the government to account. And in that vein, I repeat my regular plea for prompt responses from ministers and to MPs on behalf of our constituents. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Prime Minister's promise to restore integrity and accountability lasted barely a few hours. The Home Secretary was appointed to the job she was sacked from just 6 days earlier for breaching the ministerial code and putting our national security at risk. And we now hear that there were apparently multiple breaches of the ministerial code, even involving documents on cyber security. Now, the first duty of any government is to keep this country safe. This is exceptionally serious. Does the Leader agree there must be an urgent investigation? The Home Secretary said she rapidly reported her mistake on official channels and informed the Cabinet Secretary, but we now hear that the evidence was put to her rather than the other way round. And despite this, yesterday at the dispatch box, the Prime Minister said that the Home Secretary raised the matter and accepted her mistake. This is really important. My right honourable friend, the Shadow Home Secretary, has asked 2 points of order, 2 urgent questions and sent a letter to the Cabinet Secretary, yet we still don't have clarity. It is imperative that the Prime Minister sets out a clear timeline of who reported what, to whom and when. If he has misled the House on this serious national security matter, will he come to the Chamber, apologise and correct the record? And this is yet another example of why a government ethics advisor is so badly needed. After months of calling for one, I do welcome the announcement yesterday that this would be done shortly, but it is obvious that one is needed urgently. So could the Leader give us a time frame? Madam Deputy Speaker, the new Prime Minister claims a mandate from the 2019 general election, but that was 3 Prime Ministers and several national crises ago. Meanwhile, they're pulling legislation left, right and centre. Which sofa has all the government's missing legislation fallen down the back of? Where is the energy bill? Where is the animal welfare bill? Madam Deputy Speaker, where is the online safety bill, which was first mooted a decade ago? Now, we've been waiting 4 years. We've been waiting 4 years. Has the Prime Minister been forced to pull it to appease his new Trade Secretary? Since the Conservatives first announced their intention to regulate, 7 other jurisdictions have introduced online safety laws. And in the UK, in that time, online crime has exploded, child sexual abuse online has become rife, and scams have proliferated. Every day that goes by without the bill, the suffering continues. We hear it's been delayed and not pulled. So can I yet again offer Labour's willingness to work with the government to get this bill over the line as soon as possible? Will the government accept our offer, and can she tell us when it's coming back? The government is dragging its feet when it comes to climate and nature emergency. The Environment Act legally requires the Environment Secretary to set long-term targets for air quality, water, biodiversity, resource efficiency and waste reduction by the 31st of October. She's got 3 days left. Could the leader please wake the new Environment Secretary up from the nightmare of the last few weeks and ask her to get on with the job? Madam Deputy Speaker, this is a Prime Minister nobody elected, with no mandate, who is letting down the British people. It's time that this government accepted the British people deserve a choice between the failed Tory trickle-down economics of the past and the green, clean, sustainable future with a Labour government. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for that. Her questions form themes of democracy and integrity, both very important issues. First, let me say to her and reassure her, it is not a disappointment to find myself here, in part because I very much enjoy the exchanges I have across the dispatch box with the Honourable Lady. It was important we tested the proposition of a contest, and we did, to destruction, and I think that has been a good outcome. We, of course, on this side of the House with our party have one member, one vote, and of course the leader of the Honourable Lady's party tried to end that for Labour. Her leader tried to had to abandon his attempts to return to an electoral college, and there were accusations of gerrymandering and holding the membership in contempt. But of course the Labour Party have some form on this when they blocked an election when Parliament needed one, and their leader campaigned to overturn the result of the EU referendum. So I'm not going to take any lectures from the members opposite on honouring democracy. With regard to integrity, yes, this is the ethics advisor is a matter for the Prime Minister, and he intends to bring that decision forward. It will be a matter for him, but he has made that commitment. But I know the allegations that have been made by members on the opposite side of this House that there is support for jobs. As far as the Prime Minister is concerned, there is support for jobs. He has given support for 163,000 kickstart jobs. He has given support for job entry schemes benefiting 177,000 people who were unemployed, and of course paying the wages of 11 million people in this country to protect them and their jobs. Our record is getting nearly 4 million people back into work with the dignity of a paid packet, and that's one I'm very proud of. She mentions prompt responses. I have had that meeting with the Home Office Perm Sec, and all members can either have a bespoke service where they sit in a surgery and go through their cases, or they can have the usual responses, the written replies. Both those options are open, and we hope that all the backlogs will be cleared by the end of the year. But there are ongoing improvements to that, but I hope honourable members will have an improved service shortly. The online safety bill will be back in the House shortly. It is a priority for this government, remains a priority for this government. We do need to ensure that there is time for members to properly look at amendments, and that was the issue why it was not brought back before. But I will be announcing business in the usual way, and we are committed to that bill. One thing she didn't mention was diversity. I think all members of this House can be very proud that we have the first British Asian Prime Minister. He was being sworn in this morning, which is why we've had this unusual time for business questions today. I'm very proud that my party has had 3 women Prime Ministers and now the first British Asian Prime Minister, and obviously many other great British institutions around the country who are enabling talent to thrive. Labour have a little way to go on this. Even Doctor Who has a more successful track record in terms of the diversity of its lead characters, but all other business will be announced in the usual way.
Father of the House, Sir Peter Bottomley.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the Speaker for the Opposition rightly described the importance and significance of the role of the Leader of the House. As she knows, I'm very glad she's doing it, partly because I think it's good for the House, and partly I think it's bad for the Labour Party, because this session, after Prime Minister's question, is one of the more interesting parts of the parliamentary week. I pay tribute to the Speaker for the Labour Party for giving a review of the week, but can we turn to what actually should be considered in this House?
Absolutely.
And can I put to the Leader of the House that as soon as possible, can we have a government statement on changing the fees for park home residents from RPI to CPI, long overdue, and dealing with the 10% commission whenever anyone changes their home? And on residential leasehold, we need to have the Law Commission's proposals brought to the House and enacted. My last point, if I may, very briefly, is to say that on the 6th of July and the 7th of September, I put questions to the then Prime Ministers about environmental problems, where inspectors can come and overrule a borough or district or unitary authority's plans for their area. We must no longer have expensive barristers arguing in a small room over something which local voters have voted on both sides of the local areas, to avoid having unintended green areas built over by builders, developers who have more money, more persistence and more expertise than the planners whose job is to do the planning. They shouldn't have to be judicial committee lawyers. Can we please get this changed? Brownfield sites, not greenfield, and let local authorities make their own decisions.
Well, can I thank my right honourable friend for his very kind remarks regarding me and my post. He will know that the new Secretary of State is no stranger to the Department for Levelling Up, and I'm sure will grip these issues very swiftly. And with regard to his sentiments on greenfield versus brownfield sites and local consent and putting people in the driving seat, I think all members on this side of the House would agree with him.
SNP spokesperson Deirdre Brock.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it's good to see the leader in her place. I'm glad to hear she's not too disappointed to find herself back here again, answering probing questions from the House. Like this one, Madam Deputy Speaker. If the new PM can claim yesterday a mandate to govern based on the Tory 2019 manifesto, why won't he recognise the even clearer mandate for an independence referendum, as laid out in multiple SNP manifestos and voted for by a clear majority of Scottish voters as legitimate? I look forward to the leader's answer. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, weren't there waves of relief from the Tory benches yesterday as they joyfully registered their jobs were possibly safe for a little while longer? Now, mind you, criticism has already begun about the new Prime Minister's choices and his judgment. It's been described by others far unkinder than me as a cabinet of retreads, and it doesn't point to a bright new future for this government. Most questionably, perhaps, we now have a Home Secretary who admitted breaking the ministerial code apparently multiple times and resigned over it just days ago, but she's been given a free pass back. Yes, an investigation is needed, but shouldn't this place provide a guide or pamphlet, a sort of how to be a Secretary of State, or even Secretary of State for dummies for those chosen for these positions? Now, not to trivialise the Westminster psychodrama, but there is news that makes all this look like the proverbial storm in a teacup. The three main greenhouse gases were at their highest level ever in 2021, and the UK is not even halfway to meeting its climate targets in the 2030s and being net zero by 2050. Yet new licences for oil and gas exploration are being issued. We have a climate minister who seems to think that's good news for the environment, and the COP26 president has lost his position and influence at the cabinet table, although he's since demanded the PM explain how increased licensing dovetails with the UK's legally binding green commitments. Now, I hope the leader won't be tempted to refer to the lazy haverings of Scottish branch colleagues and accuse the SNP of not supporting oil and gas workers in the industry. After all, it's the Scottish Government that's committed £500 million to transitioning from reliance on fossil fuels to renewable energy, a commitment the UK Government has still to match. Just finally, the UN Secretary-General warns we're rapidly approaching the point of no return and prioritise climate or face catastrophe. Isn't it time this government took seriously the message scientists, academics, students and ordinary citizens are trying to tell us through their protests, and all work together urgently to reach net zero and quite literally save our planet?
Hear, hear. Well, the Honourable Lady asks me why we don't acknowledge the mandate to have a referendum. It is because, as I say every week, we have had one. Yeah. And I long for the day when honourable members opposite will actually follow the democratic mandate of the people of Scotland. Now, it was a once-in-a-generation vote. Now is not the time to be trying to have another one. People should be focused on the needs of the Scottish people, on improving education standards, getting people access to health. But I know this is what I say to the Honourable Lady every week, so let me give her another reason. Because we learned today that for there to be an independent Scotland in Europe, Scotland would have to join the euro. And if she can tell us how she intends to do that, then I'll be happy to take her question again.
Robin Walker.
Welcome my honourable friend back to her place. Some weeks ago I asked her about the urgent matter of the Worcester Warriors, and since then both they and WASPs have gone into administration. With rumours that the rugby organisations want to see a 10-team top league, can we have an urgent debate about the future of rugby union in England and how we keep the benefits that it brings to so many constituencies such as mine?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter again. It is incredibly important, and although the date for DCMS questions has not yet been announced, I would encourage him to apply for a debate in the usual way, and I shall write to that department with the issue that he raises.
Chair of the Backbench Business Committee, Ian Meehan.
Very, very grateful, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I welcome the Leader of the House back to our place? And can I also thank the Leader for announcing the backbench business debates for Thursday the 3rd of November, a week from today. And I'm sorry the Leader of the House couldn't be with us at 11:10. And while she might have been unavoidable that she was engaged in other duties, it does mean that the time for backbench business debates this afternoon has been reduced by almost an hour. And I say that on behalf of the members who've put in to speak in those debates. And can I also point out that since the House is not due to be sitting on Thursday the 10th of November, and the autumn statement is now scheduled for Thursday the 17th of November, can I ask the Leader if other time will be made available in those weeks, notwithstanding planned rail strikes on both the 7th and the 9th of November?
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman, and yes, unfortunately, we were given two choices today. We could either delay the start of business questions by suspending the House, or we could take business questions in between the two backbench business debates. And after consulting with colleagues, it was felt that the former was going to cause the least disruption to honourable members. And with regard to his other issue, I shall come back to him.
Maggie Throop.
I'm delighted that my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, used his first outing at the dispatch box to reaffirm the government's commitment to the Levelling Up agenda. It's already making a huge difference in towns like Long Eaton, in my constituency, where a £25 million Towns Fund deal is beginning to become a reality. The Levelling Up Fund in towns like Ilkeston could transform that town as well, another town in Erewash, if our £20 million bid is successful. So prior to the latest round announcements of the successful bids, could we have a debate in government time so members can once again put forward their reasons why they should be successful in the Levelling Up bids in the future?
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for raising this. She knows that we will be investing close to £5 billion over the next 4 years on infrastructure projects and culture, but also very much focused on town and city centres as well. I know the Honourable Lady has been championing her local bid, and I would encourage her to perhaps apply for a Westminster Hall debate on the subject.
Sam Tarry.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In the early hours of Monday morning, 3 people were shot in my constituency of Ilford South. A third person, 2 have died and a third is still in intensive care. Since January this year, 8 people have been murdered in my constituency, including Zara Alina, who I spoke to the Prime Minister in PMQs about, and Hina Bashir, both murdered in psychotic acts of violence against women. Violent crime is something which is now blighting Ilford in a serious way. I'm not just horrified that the place I've lived most of my life and grown up is now so badly impacted. But all I want to know is whether the government will give some decent, considered time, on government time, to talk about how we genuinely combat violence, not just against women, but mostly against the young people who are losing their lives, and sadly, at almost weekly basis in Ilford.
Well, I was very sorry to hear the several incidents that have happened in the Honourable Gentleman's constituency, and I'm sure all members would want to send their thoughts to the families of the victims involved, and we hope that the individual will make a recovery, the person who has not, who did survive that terrible attack. It is incredibly important that we tackle violent crime. This government has lifted restrictions on stop and search and also removed over 72,000 knives and dangerous weapons in recent times. But more needs to be done, and I'm sure if he wanted to apply perhaps for a backbench business debate, that he would have support across the House to do so.
Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Over the last week, many of my constituents have been afflicted by flooding from sewage systems which are completely inadequate. There have been developments that have taken place, but no further improvement to the sewage system in Harrow. So could we have a debate in government time on what measures we can put in place to ensure that when developers put applications in for development, proper consideration is provided for sewage systems so people are not afflicted with unnecessary flooding?
Well, I think this is incredibly important, and of course planning committees need to give due regard to that infrastructure, not just in terms of developments, but also if, for example, they're astroturfing pitches and so forth. I will raise this matter with the new Secretary of State, and I would also encourage the Honourable Gentleman to raise it in questions too.
Carolyn Harris.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Recognising that children and youngsters quickly outgrow football boots, in 2019, Carl Bradley and his fabulous volunteers, Tracy, Nanette and Reece, set up the Boot Room, a swap and donate your boots scheme based at Pure Football in Swans East. This month, celebrating their 3rd birthday, they've ensured over 1,500 pairs of pre-loved boots have found a new home, and they're also offering a limited number of shorts, shirts, socks and chins, thus ensuring that no barriers to young people enjoying the beautiful game. Will the Leader of the House join me in wishing the Boot Room a happy birthday and congratulating Carl and his team for all the hard work and bringing joy to so many young people?
Well, I'm sure the whole House would want to join with those sentiments to congratulate Carl, Tracy, Nanette and Reece and their whole team. What a fabulous project, and I thank the Honourable Lady for allowing us all to pay tribute to them.
Andrew Selous.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. A previous Chief Constable of Bedfordshire described police IT as yesterday's IT tomorrow, and now I'm hearing alarming stories that case files, which used to take 40 minutes to input, are now taking officers up to a day and a half. So can we have an urgent debate in government time? Because the public want the police out on the streets catching criminals, not hunched over their computers.
Well, I can fully understand why the Honourable Gentleman is so annoyed at this situation, and I will certainly write to the Home Office to make them aware of it. One of the benefits of the representation we have in this House is that good practice can also be shared, and I think that if he were to apply for a debate, we could also see what other forces are doing and how they are ensuring that the 20,000 new officers that we're putting into the frontline policing are able to actually be serving their communities and not stuck behind a desk doing admin.
Vera Hophouse.
Deputy Speaker, may I also welcome her back to her place. A bit of continuity is very welcome. Yeah. Voices, a local charity in my constituency, has highlighted the devastating impact the cost of living is having on women who are suffering from domestic abuse. A Women's Aid survey found that a third of their respondents said they find it either impossible or very hard to leave their abusers. So could we have a debate in government time on this unique problem the cost of living crisis is posing on women who are suffering from domestic abuse? And I know she will say I should apply to a backbench business debate, but showing government support for this important issue would be very welcome.
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for raising this important issue. This has been a priority for this government, and most recently, last week in fact, we announced that we were opening up further legal aid access to those who were victims of domestic abuse, so that you could get support and also representation. I shall write to the Home Office and encourage the Home Secretary to write to the Honourable Lady in detail.
Joe Gideon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Currently, a young entrepreneur must wait until they reach the age of 18 before they can open a business bank account. Does my right honourable friend agree that entrepreneurship should be encouraged as a path post-education and existing barriers should be reconsidered to increase accessibility for young people? Will the Leader of the House set aside parliamentary time for a debate on how we can encourage and support young entrepreneurs?
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for raising this. We want to support all young people in the talents and ambitions that they have. She has identified a barrier to people being able to set up their own businesses and start to develop ideas at a young age. I shall certainly write to the new Secretary of State and raise the matter with him.
Grant Davis.
I know the Leader will be a great supporter of green growth and may know of the innovative work in Swansea University in creating hydrogen from off-peak renewables and from wasted plastic, in fact. But does she know that, in fact, Swansea University faces a cliff edge in EU funding that threatens 50 projects and 270 very highly skilled jobs? So will she talk with her colleagues at Cabinet level and look towards putting forward time for a debate on this so that we do have the investment in existing projects and jobs, and we do have the money to scale up market-ready innovation to generate jobs and exports for the future?
Well, we have just very recently had Bayes questions. I don't know whether the honourable gentleman was able to raise it there. If not, I will be happy to do so on his behalf.
Dr. Matthew Offord.
Madam Deputy Speaker, following the events at the Chinese consulate in Manchester, I'm very concerned to read the recent report from the Safeguard Defenders NGO. This claims that the Chinese police are operating from several locations in the UK, including an estate agents in the Hendon constituency, in order to seek the repatriation of Chinese nationals. Can we have a minister from the Home Office come to the dispatch box to address not only the report, but also the subsequent security concerns?
So I thank the honourable gentleman for raising this. These are very disturbing reports, and I shall bring them immediately to the Home Office's attention. It is absolutely vital that if that is happening, that it desists. And I shall also raise that with the Foreign Office. It's an absolute disgrace.
Kirsty Blackman.
Speaker, the SNP amendments to the Online Safety Bill were put in for the original deadline of July. So I can only assume that the amendments that members are being allowed extra time to consider are those that have been put in by the government. Can the Leader of the House please confirm that when the Online Safety Bill does come back, hopefully, when it does make progress and when it goes through to the Lords, that it will not do so with another swathe of government amendments that will make the bill unrecognisable?
Yeah. Well, future business will be announced in the usual way, but I've heard the Honourable Lady, and the reason I gave earlier is as to why this has been delayed is correct. It is simply to allow more time for honourable members to look at the amendments.
Dawn Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I am growing increasingly concerned about maternity services and pressures on midwives. The superb Stroud Maternity Hospital has also had postnatal beds temporarily closed due to staffing shortages, and postnatal care is not a nice-to-have luxury. The first few days after birth are discombobulating at best and terrifying at worst, but despite many national reports like Ockenden and East Kent recently, some are still saying that this is only a government issue and is not looking to the NHS to solve some of the really complex problems as well. Will my right honourable friend grant time on the floor of the House to debate this serious issue so we can remove it as a political football and actually get on to see what can be done to bring about change?
Well, can I first of all welcome back from her maternity leave my honourable friend, and thank her for the work she is doing to highlight this deficit in her constituency. Normally, I would suggest she apply for an adjournment debate, but I know she has raised this issue repeatedly, so I will write on her behalf to all relevant departments and ask they come together and encourage some of her local stakeholders as well to resolve this. This is a priority for our government, and we're making £127 million investment into the maternity system over the next year alone.
Dame Diana Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I know the Leader of the House will be aware that this today actually marks the start of the Royal British Legion's annual Poppy appeal. Thank you. It's been a long morning already. And last week I spent time with the Right Honourable Member for Ludlow. We're both commissioners on the Commonwealth War Graves Commission representing Parliament. We were in Belgium and Northern France. And again, the scale of the loss, the ages on the gravestones, and from all around the Commonwealth, it really struck me that it would be very timely for this House to have an opportunity for a debate, for us to remember again the sacrifices that so many have made for all of us.
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for raising this? I think that is a wonderful suggestion, and as she spoke, I heard many members of this House also voice their approval of that. She will know how to secure such a debate, but it would certainly have my support, and Royal British Legion, Poppy Scotland, all of the organisations that help us commemorate and remember those that have made the ultimate sacrifice.
John Lamont.
Thank you very much. Earlier this week, the Honourable Member for Airdrie and Shotts attacked the Prime Minister over his race. In a nasty social media post, the SNP member suggested that the Prime Minister was the wrong type of Asian. Does the Leader of the House agree that the member should apologise, and will the Leader consider holding a debate on divisive...
Order. I presume the Honourable Gentleman has told the other Honourable Member that he will be mentioning him. Yes?
I have, yes.
Thank you.
So does the Leader of the House agree that the member should apologise, and will the Leader consider holding a debate on divisive rhetoric in politics in light of recent hate-fuelled statements made by SNP politicians?
Yes. Well, I thank my honourable friend for raising this point. I think that the overwhelming sentiment across the whole of the UK, whatever people's political differences, is that we should be incredibly proud of this country, that we have the first British Asian Prime Minister. The Honourable Lady, I think, did delete her tweet, and she may wish to proactively apologise for it. I think that the fact she has deleted it shows that she recognises it was the wrong thing to do. And again, I would just say to our colleagues on the opposite benches, they might like to think about some of the tone and some of the things that their party's leadership says, which gives permission for people to do such things.
Kirsten Oswald.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Last month, one of my constituents was detained at Charles de Gaulle Airport. On arrival, authorities said a Schengen travel ban had been in place since 2019. Now, this came as a great shock to my constituent, who had travelled to many Schengen countries since 2019 without any issue. And during his detention, he was subjected to racist language and stereotyping, and he was detained in appalling lodgings. And the travel ban is now affecting his work, which necessitates travel within the Schengen area. I'm doing all I can to help, but can I ask for a statement in government time on how the UK government might expedite the removal of the Schengen travel ban against my constituent and move this forward swiftly?
Well, I hope the Honourable Lady has contacted the FCDO, and I don't know the gentleman's circumstances. I'm glad to hear that is the case. I will write to the department and let them know that this is still an ongoing issue for the Honourable Lady.
Anna Firth.
Speaker, I welcome my right honourable friend back to her place. I think she does an outstanding job. Madam Deputy Speaker, news reports this week suggest children as young as 10 are abusing nitrous oxide, and indeed Southend Police recently confiscated over 100 industrial use canisters on just one day. So would my right honourable friend find time for a debate on this important issue described by doctors as an epidemic amongst our youth?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for raising this important issue. Her colleague, the honourable member for North Devon, is also campaigning on this issue, and I think they should join forces and apply for a debate, and I'm sure other members of the House would welcome that too.
Rachel Maskell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The housing crisis is being fuelled by the plethora of short-term holiday lets, which I know is a matter of concern for members across the House, but the government just simply are not acting fast enough. And as the situation grows in my constituency, I have 3 times more Airbnbs and short-term holiday lets than the right honourable member has in her constituency. So can we have an urgent debate on the rise of short-term holiday lets and what the government are going to do to stop this?
Well, I thank the honourable lady for raising this matter. Recently, other members of this House have also raised this particular issue. I think I can best be of assistance to her by writing to the department and ask that they take this matter up. She will know how to apply for a debate in the usual way, and I know other members of the House would support that.
Richard Graham.
Deputy Speaker, as the first 6 months of the Homes for Ukraine scheme draws to a close, housing authorities, host families and refugees will be taking stock, and there's likely to be a need for more hosts. There may be a need for higher amounts of reimbursement to host families to take account of rising costs of living. At the same time, there's still housing issues for Afghan refugees, Hong Kong, British national overseas passport holders, and as we heard earlier, of course, pressure for asylum seekers as well. Does my right honourable friend agree that all this gives an opportunity, perhaps, for a debate that takes stock of how this scheme has worked, what its successes have been, what lessons there are to be learned, and perhaps whether we can have a wider Homes for Refugees scheme?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for raising this. I mean, clearly, for a fairly modest sum of £350 a month, a sizable group of people are being taken care of, and if those people had not stepped up and done that, pressures on housing stock and others would be severe, and it would be much more expensive to the public purse. So I thank him for us being able to say thank you to all those individuals who have stepped up, and he is right. It is going to be the most cost-effective and actually nicest way of caring for those individuals and showing our support to the people of Ukraine if we keep that scheme going.
Patricia Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As well as reaching the dizzying heights of the highest office, the current Prime Minister has, in common with the member for South West Norfolk, the member for Uxbridge and South Russellot, the member for Maidenhead and the former member for Whitby, no mandate in Scotland. Will the Leader of the House make a statement advising the new Prime Minister not to follow the example of his erstwhile predecessors in seeking to deny Scotland's right to choose its own future? Or did democracy die in Scotland in 2014?
I think, again, Madam Deputy Speaker, the way democracy works has not really been fully understood by members on the SNP benches. The last person to ask a question before the Honourable Lady is intimately familiar with the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, which promotes and explains the importance of democracy in all places around the world, and I think honourable members perhaps ought to get in touch with him and learn what democracy actually means.
Anthony Higginbottom.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. In my constituency, residents are contacting me about antisocial behaviour. It doesn't matter whether you're in Padiham, in Burnley Town Centre or up on Colne Road. When I speak to local police officers, they tell me the issue isn't getting the police out, it's with youth justice and successfully prosecuting a very small number of highly motivated young children. Could we have a debate in government time on antisocial behaviour and youth justice so we can find a solution to this problem?
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right to point to the team effort that is needed to really ensure that antisocial behaviour and communities are protected and their lives not disrupted, but also ensure that these young people are taken care of and enabled to lead a more productive path. I think that is a very good suggestion for a debate, and I would encourage him to apply for one.
Emma Lewis-Butt.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. For months now, various ministers, secretaries of state and one of our recent prime ministers have all promised action regarding my constituent, Mr Singh. Mr Singh is subject to identity theft. He and his family have been held by Border Force. His immigration status is in jeopardy. His family have been placed in danger and his health records are in utter chaos. Now, a long-awaited ministerial meeting for next week has just been cancelled. Will the Leader of the House please use her good offices to ask her colleagues in government to start doing their jobs?
Well, I assume the relevant department that the Honourable Lady was expecting to meet with would be the Home Office. If that's the case, I will certainly, if she gives me the details after this session, I'll write to them immediately. I know this must be a very traumatic time for her constituent, and we would want this case dealt with very quickly. As I did say earlier, I met with the Home Office PermSec yesterday on timeliness of getting back to colleagues, and he is absolutely determined to do that and improve the service that members are getting.
Virginia Crosby.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Annis Morn is currently represented by 5 members of the Senedd, soon to increase to 6 under the Welsh Labour Government's plans to increase the size of the Senedd from 60 to 96 MSs at an estimated cost of £100 million. Yet the Welsh Labour Government continues to deprioritise North Wales with a sudden closure of the Menai Bridge last Friday with no more warning, bringing months of chaos to my Annis Morn constituents. Does the Leader of the House agree that the Welsh Labour Government should be prioritising the maintenance of key transport links, not increasing the number of politicians?
Well, I think my honourable friend is absolutely right, and this is another example of the Welsh Labour Government deprioritising the people of North Wales. It's absolutely outrageous. I heard about the bridge closure, and the honourable lady is doing absolutely everything she should with regard to her work on getting a free port. I know she's also really a champion for nuclear power and infrastructure to support that industry. I know she's also very effective because I think she has already secured an adjournment debate on this matter. So I shall give her some more power to her elbow, and I shall write to the Minister before that debate.
Patrick Grady.
Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid I also have to ask for a debate about the Home Office taking its responsibility seriously. I've got 2 refugee constituencies who, for different reasons, are stuck in 2 different countries and have lost or have had their travel documents lost or stolen. They both have significant childcare responsibilities, and yet the Home Office seems content to leave them stranded for weeks on end, waiting for replacement documents while they run out of money and their children are placed at risk. So can the Leader also help me in getting these cases urgently in front of someone who will pay attention and respond to them?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that is the case for the honourable gentleman. One of the new services the Home Office has stood up is an actual surgery with honourable members, can either be done in person or on a Zoom or Teams call. This sounds like a way of actually resolving that in the most swift possible time. I'd encourage him to do that, but I will also write and let them know that this is a pressing case.
Dr. Luke Evans.
On a personal note, can I say that the Leader is an asset to this party, this House and this country? I'm an avid Bath rugby supporter, which is tough to say as a Leicestershire MP. But my father's a season ticket holder and my brother was the medical doctor there. The one thing that unites us, though, is our passion for rugby. And to see the likes of Wasps and Worcester Warriors fall and collapse is incredibly scary, especially to my constituents who are employed and work for the likes of Wasps. So will the Leader write to the government to ask for a review like we had with the football review? And failing that, could we have time to debate such a review?
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for raising this. I know this will be a pressing issue and an issue of immense importance to his constituents, and will be very happy to write to the relevant department. I thank him also for his kind remarks to me. I may not be the centre forward, but I shall always be needed on the right wing.
Claire Anderson.
First centres, they're better.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Given all the changes of ministers recently, can the Leader of the House confirm that we can still expect timely answers to letters and written and oral questions to ministers for recent weeks? Specifically, on the 14th of October, I raised concerns about the very noisy early night flights to Heathrow, which wake up my constituents regularly now from 4:30 in the morning. The former Minister for Transport, the member for Torbay, answered reassuringly that he would be investigating this. Can the Leader of the House assure me that this pledge by a Transport Minister will be honoured?
Yes, it will. The faces change, but the government continues. And if there is delay, in the Honourable Lady getting a timely response, as she's indicated, I will always follow up these issues on behalf of honourable members. I think that's one of the main reasons for having business questions, that we can really ensure urgent cases especially are followed up. So she has that assurance.
Andy Carter.
In June, a low-traffic neighbourhood zone was introduced by Warrington Council into the Latchford area of my constituency, an area that's totally unsuitable because it's constrained to the south by the Manchester Ship Canal and to the north by the River Mersey. Roads have been closed to traffic, resulting in longer journey times and more congestion. 87% of residents in a survey I conducted who were impacted by these changes say they want things to go back to how they were. Can we have a debate in government time on low-traffic neighbourhood zones? And does my right honourable friend agree with me that local councillors need to listen to local residents and scrap these changes?
Well, friend is absolutely right. We do need to listen to local people, not just because that's what their representatives are supposed to do, but quite often they will have the best ideas about how to manage particular situations. I would tell him how to secure a debate, but like my other colleague he is sitting next to, I know he has already managed to secure an adjournment debate, and congratulate him on that, but I shall also flag that he has raised it with me with the relevant ministry.
Chris Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. If we could reopen the Rhondda Tunnel, which goes from Blaen Cwm to Blaen Gwynfi, it will be the second longest cycle tunnel in Europe and a great local asset in some of the poorest areas in Wales. It belongs to the Department of Transport, so I've been trying to secure meetings with ministers. So I met with the Secretary of State, but unfortunately, he was very enthusiastic, but unfortunately he was sacked, and then he became the Home Secretary and then the Secretary of State for Bays. I met with the Minister, but he was then made the Europe Minister and then the Chief Whip and then the Northern Ireland Secretary. I met with another Minister. She then became the Chief Whip. She resigned, she unresigned, and then she was sacked. And I was going to meet with the new Secretary of State for Transport, but she's now Minister at the FCDO. So can the Leader of the House do two things for me? First of all, can she make sure that whatever minister I now meet, and that I do meet a minister, that they stay in place long enough to make sure we get the money? And secondly, will she personally, because she's the fixed point in this government as far as I can see, could she come to the Rhondda Tunnel? We can dangle her down in a hole, right down to the bottom, and she can see it for herself. We'll let her out again, probably. It'd be absolutely amazing. There'll be lovely chaps who'll look after her as she's going down, and she won't have to hit herself on the head or anything like that. It's absolutely amazing. But we need to make this happen. Will she help?
I shall do my utmost to help the honourable gentleman. We often talk about a whole-of-government approach, and it seems that he has done all the legwork to secure that. I would be happy to flag this with the new minister, who I saw this morning, Mark Harper, the honourable member for, I can't remember. I hear the honourable gentleman's frustration, and I shall do my best to ensure that this is prioritised by the
relevant department.
Come to the wrong.
Ben Everett.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I wish I had an offer as good as that of the Honourable Member for the Rhondda. Many people in rural towns and villages in my constituency rely on public transport. They need those links, that connectivity to get them to where they need to be. So it's very concerning to hear that Route 51, which runs between Bedford and Northampton, stopping at many towns and villages in the rural parts of my constituency, will soon be running at a much reduced rate. This will leave constituents isolated, without the means to travel to work or school or the doctors. Can the Leader of the House ensure that there's a debate in government time so that we can underline our commitment to keeping rural communities connected, and we can underline the fact that everybody has a role to play in this, bus operators and local government included?
Well, I shall be very happy to flag the specific issue that my honourable friend raises with the Department of Transport and the new Secretary of State there. He will know that the 6-month extension to the bus recovery grant scheme provided up to £130 million to continue supporting bus services, and England's long-term national bus strategy, which I'm sorry to hear is called Bus Back Better, is explicit about ensuring the needs of rural transport.
Anna McMorrin.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Just a few days from COP27, and the new Prime Minister has decided to sack the COP President, not only from Cabinet, but also as a Minister. What message does that send when this government is looking at a new, 100 new oil and gas licences, and the UN Secretary-General is actually saying prioritise climate change or face catastrophe?
Well, I'm incredibly proud of what this government did at COP26 and would pay tribute to my right honourable friend for all the work that he has done as COP President. It is not correct to say that he has been sacked as COP President. He will be there to ensure that that work is a real legacy, and he will hand that over to the new President. And I would say that I'm very grateful to the Honourable Lady to allow me to put on record my gratitude to our colleague.
Tobias Elwood.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Could I wish every success to the Prime Minister and his front bench team as we return to greater fiscal responsibility and indeed focus on meeting our 2019 Conservative Party manifesto commitments. Those commitments include climate change, and in the spirit of focusing on COP26 and COP27, could I invite the government to welcome King Charles to attend COP27, having done such a fantastic job with the President of COP in Glasgow in COP26.
Well, I thank my right honourable friend for placing his views on record. He will understand they are not a matter for me, but they will have been heard. Hopefully, we will be keeping His Majesty rather less busy on other matters.
Margaret Ferrier.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Would the Leader of the House join me in congratulating Bonnie Blantyre and pals on their Community Horticulture Gold Award by Keep Scotland Beautiful for their tireless campaign to brighten up the local area with flowers and plants? Can we have a debate in government time on the importance of biodiversity at a local level?
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for raising this, and I'm sure all members of the House would want to congratulate Bonnie and her team for this huge achievement. She is absolutely right. This is vital for well-being. It's vital for the look and feel of our communities, and I thank her for getting that on record today.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The principal rail service into my Cleethorpes constituency is provided, or at the moment not provided, by TransPennine Express. They're supposed to have an hourly service between Cleethorpes and Manchester. When I checked their website this morning, there was 5 consecutive cancellations, which means at least 6 hours between trains. I've had frequent meetings with the management over the last 11 months of the various disputes, but to no avail. They tell me they need approval from the Department of Transport to conclude negotiations. Could the leader arrange for a statement from the new Transport Secretary so that we can try and resolve this issue?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for raising this. I will raise this straight away with the Department for Transport. It's absolutely vital that we know that there are occasional disruptions to services, but to have so many, I think, will have really caused his constituents a huge amount of difficulty. And I thank him for raising it. I shall help him get this resolved with the Department of Transport.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Very pleased to see the Leader of the House back in her role again, and we look forward to these business questions every Thursday. The Chinese Embassy in London is currently looking to move to the former Mint building. Yesterday, the BBC reported that the Chinese Communist Party had established unofficial police stations operating out of embassies and consulates in Europe. Will the Leader of the House agree with me that steps should be taken to ensure that the Chinese Communist Party doesn't use this building to establish a clandestine police force to intimidate or threaten Hong Kongers and Chinese nationalists living in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland?
I do agree with the honourable gentleman, yes, or any building for that matter. In this session, another colleague has also raised the same issue. I think it is appalling, these reports. People need to be protected, and this needs to be stopped.
I thank the lead.